So today I am so excited to introduce Lynette Allen from Gather the Woman Publishing. We're going to meet her in a minute. But first, I want to explain to you why I brought her along to talk to you today. So I had an experience about 2 weeks ago, kind of started a bit in advance of that, when Lynette contacted me out of the blue after probably 10, 15 years. And she asked me to write the foreword for a book for her publishing company, Gathering the Woman Publishing. And the book was about women who need space. And this is something that I am so passionate about these days. And part of the process was I was introduced into a group of 30 authors. So she had 30 authors on a call, and I was introduced to talk a little bit about my experience of finding space and solitude and how healing this whole process was for me. So I came along to the experience just expecting to kind of be on a little webinar, but it was something very, very different. I entered what felt like a portal of creativity, love, truth, and self-expression, where 30 different women gathered to share their experiences of finding space in their lives and writing in what I loved about the writing, because I saw a sample of it, was they were writing in, their language, from their heart. It wasn't a formalized, stylized way of writing. The writing was so authentic, it was so real, and it was so raw. The books that Lynette, she's going to talk to you about this in a minute, but the books that she writes are written by women, for women. And, having spent 30 years gathering women in spaces where they come together and they share their pains, they share honestly, they go through a transformational process together. What was really beautiful was that I recognized that in the work that Lynette was creating, she was creating books that spoke to women when they were lying in bed at night, when they were sitting on a train, when they're sitting in the garden, when they're reaching points in their lives where they need support, they need help, they need deeper understanding. And rather than some theoretical personal development book, these books felt to me like poetry. The words felt like there was so much more in between the lines than what people were even writing. So when I gathered with these women, one, Lynette, held space that was so unique. The way she held this group and encouraged the woman. And then the free flow of creativity in the conversations was it really touched me. It really affected me. It made me think about my work. It made me think about my creativity. If you follow me on Facebook or Instagram, I was writing about how profoundly I came out of the call. You don't know this, Lynette, but I came out of the call and I had to lie down. I had to go to sleep because something impacted me so deeply about my own journey, my own expression of my work, and how gathering women, how poetry, how sharing stories has such a profound effect. And for me, it made me think about the way I was working, the way I want to move forward. So I feel really honoured to be part of this project. And as we go on, we'll find out that, well, first of all, Lynette sent me this book called Rising Woman, amazingly laid out, beautifully laid out, so easy to read, so uplifting. And I think we're going to have maybe one or two readings throughout our conversation today. I've got one here that's really simple that I'll read later. But Yeah, so this tool really, really helped me. So I'm on here today to talk to you about, maybe looking into this kind of work as something that might uplift you, the viewer, the person who's watching this right now. But I think let's get behind the story and look at the person who has put this material, this project, this beautiful, beautiful project together. And let's look at her lineage. What's brought her to this place? I know Lynette from 15 years ago when we were both in coaching. She was running coaching companies, I was running coaching companies, and now she's working in this beautiful poetic way. So Lynette Allen, coming over to you. It is lovely to have you here. Thank you so much for agreeing to come on to the show. Um, and
Thank
and
you for
yeah,
having me.
yeah,
It's a real delight to be with you, really.
yes, after all these years,
I
all
know.
years just, and we've both been going in quite different journeys, experiencing very different things. But on some level, there is so much synergy now with nature, awareness, consciousness, the way you're seeing the world, the way I'm seeing the world. So let's just dive in. Gathered the Woman Publishing. How did it come about? You were a coach. You were the leading UK coach, and now you're doing this. How did it all change?
Yeah. Well, it's been like a transformation. I didn't just switch. There was a journey. So back when I first knew of you, I mean, I think it was more than 15 years ago. We were in touch about 15 years ago, I think.
Right.
Or around that time when I was pregnant or when I just had Livy. But I knew of you probably back in the year 2000, 2004, 2005. And I'll share a very quick story. I saw you in a magazine, which you now know because I only told you this a few months ago. I saw you in this glossy magazine. I wanted to be in magazines too. I wanted to do that. And I didn't know how on earth one would get into a magazine. I had no idea. And I had no idea how to write for a magazine. And I'm sure you hadn't written that because I think a journalist had written that in
Yeah.
conjunction with you, of course.
Yeah.
But I thought, well, what would it look like if I was in that magazine? So which is highly, not good because, one mustn't take other people's work and write it, right? But it never got published anywhere. But I wrote out the entire document, the entire interview, and I replaced your name with mine and my details with yours in exactly the right places.
Oh,
And I read it and I was like, oh my God, that could be an interview about me. Now, that didn't go anywhere. Of course, that sat on my laptop. But the point is, it gave me a door open into this world and a door open to where I wanted to go. And that was 25 years ago,
so
20
incredible.
years ago, something like that. So we've known each other from way back then. And I did get into magazines. I was on the front cover of magazines. I was a columnist for some magazines. I had articles printed about me and my dogs, my family then, my coaching, all types of things. I was on TV. I did the whole thing. And then I went on a bit of a journey. So
Right.
the journey, which you can pull apart if you want to, but basically the journey was I discovered when I was working in corporate. After that time, I was working with coaching women in senior, powerful positions in glass offices, and I wore my high heels and my black suits and my leather bag, and off I would trot to London and be in these glass offices. And I would get groups of women together and we would talk about how we really felt about our place in the workplace, because there weren't many women at senior level. There probably still aren't as many as there should be. But that was what I was wanting to do. Use your voice, use your visibility to get higher. At some point during that, I discovered plant medicine. I discovered cacao. I discovered how plants have energy. I'd been into this, actually. I was a Reiki practitioner back then as well. I had done reflexology for a short time in my career. I'd done stuff like that. When I found about the plants and the spirit medicine, and how they affect your consciousness and how they affect your view of the world, my view of the world started to change. And I did very much go inwards into my own journey. I stopped being so prolific on social media. I stopped doing the workshops. I slowly began to realize that this was not the way I wanted to interact with women. Oh, I started to become aware of this sister circle, of the rememberings of the village fire, of the fact that we used to gather as women, and I was calling it workshops and roundtable events, and they were being sponsored by solicitors in the middle of London, and we had security badges to go in, and free tea and coffee and biscuits and everything. That was the whole thing. But actually, women years ago would do the same thing, but they would do it on the village green around the fire, and they would hold a talking stick and they would speak of their stories, their worry, their concerns, their pain, their joy, their highlights, their celebrations, their birth, their partnerships, their marriage, their health, their parents, their role. They would speak about all the things to do with them around the village fire. And around that fire would be their sisters, their aunties, their nieces, their elders, their grandmothers, their mother-in-laws. They would have everybody around and receive support and wisdom from those other people. Women who were older, who'd been there and done that. Women who were younger, who had a different view on things. That was missing. And I really, really wanted that. I wanted to create that. So I started working much more with plant medicine, with cacao, with cacao ceremonies, with sitting in circle, sitting on the ground, taking our shoes and socks off, being outside in nature, actually lighting a fire and having women look into the flames. This became transformational for me, because it became very quickly that it was transformational for them. And I was always very pleased to hear that when I got into these glass offices in our high heels and we were all in our suits, as soon as that door was shut and I started a circle, I now call circle, the guard would come down. And it didn't really matter what company they were from, how much they earn, how much their shoes cost. They were actually talking about the same issues. And we met as women, and I appreciated that. When you take somebody out of that space and you put them in different clothes and you take off their shoes and socks and you get them on the earth and you get them lighting a candle and drinking a heart opener like ceremonial cacao, oh my gosh, does that elevates. You've got like this plume of energy which coagulates together and circles around that fire, and it becomes instantly much more ancestral, much deeper. You start speaking differently about spirits and intuition and why you're here and what you want. So things began to change for me, and I realized I could not anymore do that work in offices. And I did, for myself, have a big ceremonial burning of everything. Back in the day, we had files and papers and paper business cards, and I had notebooks and notebooks of the courses and the things that I was running and ideas about what to do next. I burnt everything.
So
I had a big bonfire.
You're working, and obviously you'd be successful in it because you are. What was the moment where because this is quite a big jump. Yeah, you'd been dabbling with plant medicine. What was the moment where you thought, I don't want to live this life anymore. I don't want to work in this way or be in this way, experience life in this way anymore? What happened? Was there a moment?
There was no moment that I can think of. Well, maybe there was. Okay, maybe there was. My daughter Livy is homeschooled, so she's been around me and my husband the whole time of her childhood. She's 14 now, but as a 4-year-old, she was a very sassy, chatty, interested 4-year-old, I would talk to her about my business. I would talk to her about the girls that I was working with and who I was training, and she so much as the language she knew. I want them to be able to speak what they're thinking. You know how you're allowed your voice, you're allowed to say no to me. I want those women to say no as well. And they sometimes find it difficult, and she would understand all that. And so I was putting on what I thought might be my last set of workshops. I thought, right, I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to maybe think about transitioning to more plant medicine circles and cacao. And none of my programs were selling, nothing sold. And I did the same marketing, same email list. Yeah, I did everything the same.
Yeah.
And it wasn't selling. And I mean, I could have done with the money, honestly. But also I was like, well, I just want to do it one more time. And I sat down on the bed and I said to her, Livy, I don't understand this. I am not selling any of my programs and I'm doing the same thing. And her 4-year-old self said, well, if you don't really want to do it anymore, Mummy, they won't come, will they? Oh, well, there you are.
Wow.
Like, drop the mic. That was like, no, you're quite right, my love. They will not come if I don't really want to do it.
Wow.
And so I think I realized it was done, but quite without my permission. Before I'd even realized it was done.
Yeah.
I
I
didn't
remember.
know it was done, but it actually is done. I was trying to build up the energy. Come on, one more time. You know what to do. You know how it works.
Yeah.
No.
That's fascinating, isn't it? It's
That
like
wasn't working.
once you know, it's like it's time.
So there was no decision, really. It was kind of made for me because no one was coming.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
doors were shut.
You'd closed it down. You knew you were moving out, but you probably weren't ready because you didn't have a plan maybe for the next
Oh,
5 years. What
there was
happened
no
there?
plan.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was no plan. I had no okay, well, we'll just implement plan B now. There was no plan B. I didn't know what to do next.
So what do
It
you
was
do?
a complete state of fuck, for want of a better word. This ain't working. Okay, now what? And I didn't have any of the answers. What I did know is that I was starting to understand through the sister circles, through plant medicine, through cacao, I was starting to understand meditation. I was starting to understand what it felt like to sit down in the quiet, drink cacao, not drink cacao, but just hear nothing, the silence. And I never understood meditation. I was 42, maybe 43, maybe 44, somewhere around there at that point. And I didn't understand meditation and I'd never done it. I had never done yoga. I did understand about intuition. I had a clear sense of my intuitive rudder. But I was starting to understand what it was like to sit upright and close your eyes and hear nothing. And I became a bit obsessed with every morning getting up, making my cacao and sitting. And I would do that before the rest of the family woke up. And that's really when I started to become much more aware of small droplets of information that were being given to me, I think, by source. Cacao had come to me that way through sitting in silence with my coffee. Cacao, I couldn't get the word cacao out of my head. Well, why can't I think, well, what is this cacao? And then I found a cacao ceremony. Like, okay, I'll go to that. And then I was like, okay, this is weird. This is hot chocolate. And I left the house, and Mark and Livy were taking the mickey out of my hot chocolate ceremony. Oh, are you going to your hot chocolate ceremony, Mummy? Yeah, yep, I am. I don't know why we have our ceremony around hot chocolate, but I'm going to go and drink hot chocolate with a group of ladies. And it was so strange because I was so cynical in my head. I sat there and I'm like, okay, this is a bit weird, honestly. I got my hot chocolate. Okay, I sipped it. Okay, I wasn't enjoying this. I wasn't enjoying the space. I wasn't enjoying the people. I wasn't enjoying the leader. I actually wasn't enjoying any of it. What I did think at some point is you're wasting your £25. You've paid to come to this, Lynette. You've paid to drink hot chocolate, so you might as well sit and meditate.
Mm.
If at least you get a good meditation out of this, you can go home. You never have to come back again.
Mm.
So I sat and I went into meditation. And about 30 seconds later, she found me, cacao. And I
Wow.
went, oh, there you are.
Wow.
Okay. And I said, I'm sorry. You have my full attention.
Mm.
And I found cacao. And I know it's a strange thing to say, but it's a feeling that overcame me, a connection. It felt like all my chakras, for want of a better word. And I've never really been big into chakras either, but they all kind of lined up and I sat upright. I thought, oh,
Yeah.
this is what they're talking about,
Yeah.
you know?
Beautiful and amazing to hear this description, because so many women out there see cacao ceremonies, women sitting in a circle. And what I'm really enjoying about this is you're kind of demystifying it for a lot of people. And the fact that you just didn't have a connection to meditation. Lots and
No.
lots of people have tried meditation. It's like, what is that? Is it relaxation? What is it? But it's this really profound experience when you can get to the place that you're talking about. So as you practiced your cacao and your morning hot chocolate, what started to happen in the meditations?
Well, they were quite profound. So, what I now know in my heart is that I'm being spoken to all the time by spirit. I know that, by source, the universe, whatever you like to call it. I'm connected to something higher than me.
Yeah.
The trick is, I'm a busy person. I like creating. I like doing things. I like making lists. I like putting the washing on and putting it out and going to the shops and thinking about tea. If I'm doing all of that, I can't hear.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to knock pretty loudly in my brain to make me see something, to make me intuitive. You've got to knock, right? Meditation is where you just take your mind very slowly into a space of not having any of that. All of that will wait.
Mm-hmm.
When your mind is quieter, you don't need a big knock. You can hear a whisper.
Mm-hmm.
You can hear a phrase or see a picture, or
Mm-hmm.
some words will come to me. Typically, words come to me, which is not surprising as I've written books for many years. So words come. And the next set of words after cacao that came was, there's a gift for you in Bali. So I said to my husband, can we go to Bali? I've got to go to Bali. And he said, yeah. So we went and had a long-term visit in Bali.
Wow.
And that was 2019, I think.
Okay. And what happened in your development cycle when you went out to Bali? How did that change your life?
Well, when I went out there, I didn't really know why I was going. I just heard there's a gift for you in Bali.
Wow.
So I thought I better research. So I began researching about cacao. Do they have cacao in Bali? I didn't know. Of course they do. It's where they grow it. I didn't know this.
Right.
I had to Google for Livy whether they have horses in Bali, because if they didn't have horses, we weren't going, according to Livy. So yes, there were horses in Bali. I looked at ceremony in Bali. Well, do they have cacao ceremonies? Well, of course they do. They're on every street corner. So I looked at several things and some places that I thought, I'm definitely going there. I have to go there. And one of those places was to a lady called Malika Darville, who is a shaman in Bali. She's American. And she held a 3-week training on how to hold space. I thought, I'm going to that. I'm heading there So that's what I did. I really kind of, in my mind, I had to have something to grab onto when I went there. So I went there.
Mm.
And that was a really transformative 3 weeks because it gave me the tools to start understanding how I could work with cacao formally and how I could open cacao ceremonies. Yeah.
Mm. Amazing. Amazing. And so did you then start, I mean, what happened next? Sorry, I'm just going through the journey with you. It's like, what,
Well,
what did you, because I guess what's going through my mind is, one day you're working in these glass boxes, in London, doing all your training. And the next thing you're out in Bali on this, shamanic retreat. Um, or shamanic training. And it's like, okay, I mean, we get to Gathering Woman Publishing one day, gather the woman publishing. We get there one day, but what happened next?
well, the next thing is I start holding the space for cacao after that training
Mm.
and with women,
Mm.
and we start talking, and we
Mm.
have a talking stick and a talking circle, and we're around a fire, or we're around a central altarpiece, or we are sat on the floor. And I'm finding that I'm doing my work from 15 years before,
Yeah.
but in this setting,
Yeah.
like, oh, this is so nice. And we did we did years of this. I did lots of these ceremonies. And then the world went quiet. The world went into lockdown.
Mm.
I could no longer hold ceremonies in person.
Mm.
And I transferred it to online, and I had no idea how that would work. I just was like, well, how do I continue doing my job?
Mhm.
I have to go online, but I'd never used Zoom. I didn't understand, like,
Me
what do
neither.
you do? And
Me
how
neither.
do you hold space when you can't touch people, you can't hug people, you can't look at them and feel them and smell their perfume? Like, how does that even work?
Mhm.
But I did it and it did work. And it
Mm.
worked really well. And what I found was I was able to connect with women from Australia and Jamaica and America and Singapore and Japan and Europe and blah, 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 everywhere.
Mm.
And we held many, 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 many of these ceremonies through that year. And they were desperately needed. Of course, we all needed
Mhm.
connection.
Mm.
At some point during that or before that time, somewhere around that time, a friend of mine had said she was writing a chapter for a book, that it was a collab book. I didn't
Mm.
know what one of those was. I'd written books before, as you know, but they were all under my name. Like, how do you write a collab book? What is that? It's a
Mm.
collaboration book
Mm.
where separate women, write chapters under the umbrella of one theme.
Mm.
I thought that was a fantastic idea. That's a great idea. Well, I kind of just put that away. And then one day it occurred to me as I was like meditating, oh, we should write a book about our sister circles. Not and actually not to big up my sister circles. That wasn't the point of it. The point was to write about sitting with our sisters
Mm.
wherever they are in the world. It was about ritual,
Mm.
lighting a candle, ceremony, making intentions, being conscious about what we're eating, our food, our thoughts, the way we shower, the way we cleanse,
Mm.
the way we go out into nature. It was just articulating everything that we had been talking about,
Mm.
our how it healed our hurts or our pain or our illnesses or what that did. And so I put out a very short 3 or 4 paragraph message on WhatsApp to all the women who'd sat with me. Do you want to write a book? Do you want to write a chapter each on this? And within 24 hours, I had 34 women that said yes. Everyone was like, yes, of course. One lady, Casey, she was out surfing. She's a great surfer. And when she was surfing, she was like daydreaming, thinking, I think I really want to write a book. I'd love to write a book. Wouldn't that be nice to write a book? When she got back to her towel on the beach and her phone, there was a message on her phone from me saying, do you want to write a book with me?
Mm.
She's like, well, I don't even care what it's about. I'm in. So I
Yeah.
just had
You
that.
Amazing.
And that was I was the other side of the world to her.
Yes.
So these women were like fizzing. And then I pulled the program together, which I've done that many times before, of course, with the coaching and the workshops. I've pulled programs out of thin air, and
Mm.
I've got huge experience in that. Project management, making sure things work to time. And these women were not authors. They were
Mm.
not necessarily writers. They were women with stories. And I realized we were creating the village fire
This,
in a
this,
book.
this is the magic. This is the magic. It's not the author. It's the woman who wants to share her story, and the stories are raw and they're from the heart. And yeah, so yeah, instead of editing yourself and kind of going or judging yourself, I'm not a writer, I can't do this. Somehow
This
cut
isn't
the
for
root.
writers.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, writers are welcome, and I have people who have written other books. Everybody's welcome.
yeah,
But who I work with is women who have stories to tell.
yeah, yeah.
So we've done books about all sorts of things. I've got two of them here. We have this latest one that we did. This is the Feminine Arts.
Mm,
That's actually Rosie on the front cover, and Livy took the photo.
that's amazing.
That's my
Amazing.
other daughter, Rosie, for those who don't know. So the Feminine Arts is about demystifying manifestation, intuition, and intention. It's how we manifest
Beautiful.
and how we did it, and literally the types of things that we did, what we did to manifest, which, because I'm a great manifestor, I love that.
Yeah, I love this. And I love the fact that you have 30 individual stories around manifestation, because what I've learned about manifestation is everyone has a unique
Yeah,
ability to do it. And if you try one type, it might not work for you. But if
no,
you've got
exactly.
30 women's experiences, then it might be that someone else's style,
There's
someone else's strategy works for you.
there's dozens of strategies in here that each woman describes that she
Right.
did.
Yeah.
This one was written by 50 women over 50. This was for my birthday to celebrate my 50th. And at some point in this book, they all write about their life experience up until now. Their best advice is in here. So this is like 50 women over 50, their life experience each in a chapter.
Mhm.
And when I was going through, the depths of making sure that the pages were right and people's writing was right and everything, Livy said to me, Mummy, you could just have taken yourself out to dinner, which I could have done, but I decided to write a whole book with them.
Yeah.
So there's been many now. We're currently writing number 6, I think, which is the one you're involved with, When Women Need Space. That's with 50 women.
Ooh, ooh.
We're just launching our next one, which we'll write. There's an author program for everyone, and we're just going to launch that. That is how we feel about our bodies, our relationship with our bodies. And it's called Bear,
Mm.
Naked Conversations about the Bodies We Live in.
I've seen your promo for it and it's just fantastic. It reminds me of the old Dove adverts, kind of. It's
Yes,
like the real bodies, but
yes.
in this book, it's going to be real bodies and real wisdom from women
Well,
living.
I knew I had to have an underwear shoot.
Yeah.
So what's happened now is that, I've done so many of these books. Last year, really only last year, I claimed the role and the title of publisher and author, because that's what I am. I mean, this year will be the 19th book I've written.
Mm, amazing.
I've been writing books since 2004. So that's
Mm,
22 years. I've ghostwritten books for people. I've edited their books. I've coached them on writing, and yeah.
yeah.
So this year I really kind of stood in that.
Mhm.
So I'm still holding a circle. I still
Mm,
run sister circles, but the main things that I love doing at the moment is holding space for women to be able to tell their stories,
I
to
love
leave
it.
them as legacies for their children,
Yeah.
for the women who don't even know their name yet. They will write deeply
Mm,
about their own experiences for another woman to pick up and just feel. I mean, It's
Mm,
magic. It's
mm.
magic.
I hadn't quite cottoned on to that part about, if you write a chapter in a book, how, and if you've not written a book, that is that is a legacy. That is something
Yeah.
so beautiful to leave behind, or to pass on inside your family. And I'm curious for anybody that's interested in becoming part of your future collaborations, because I'm guessing they're gonna keep going. Yeah, you're just gonna. Yeah,
I have a million book titles, Dawn, in my
yeah.
head. There's like, I'm planning the next 5.
Yeah. So if somebody wanted to get involved in something like this, um,
Yeah.
do you edit? Do you, because if you
Yeah.
do write and you don't think you're a great writer and you don't want to run things through ChatGPT or some kind of
No.
AI, because that's the thing about your material. It's so raw. That's what I loved about it.
Yeah.
It's so raw.
And
Um,
I think AI has its place, and it's not going away
yeah,
anytime soon.
no,
It certainly has a place. But
yeah,
when we're talking about encouraging women to articulate their history, a
mm,
slice, like we did one for the menopause,
mm,
a slice of their menopause life,
mm,
their menopause story, what that doctor said, what the HR team meant, what happened, how their husband reacted. You know, you can't, we don't want AI to shape that. We want you to write it. But not everybody's a natural writer.
mm,
Um, so I edit. I hold the program. There's 4 calls where each week we do a slice of the chapter. This week we're going to write about just this bit,
mhm.
and you're
So
going to
you're
hand that
coached
into me.
through the process.
Yeah.
You're
Next
coached.
week you're going to write just the next bit, and you're going to hand that into me.
Yeah.
So it's accountable with timelines. And of course, I have to get most people through the gate on time, but there's always exceptions, and there's always somebody who's, this time we have somebody who's going through a very difficult situation. Personally, we've got illness, we've got somebody whose dearest friend is dying, we've got um somebody who's been ill for a long time, another person had to have an emergency operation. We can
Nice.
still bring, that's life, that
Mm,
happens in
mhm,
a program. And so I'm able to work with each of them individually to go, okay, you can't do it this week. Don't worry. Go and have your operation. Get well.
mhm,
So I'll have a call with you in 3 weeks, and we'll just do that everything then.
mm,
So it's about making it really accessible to people who have a story to tell, but perhaps they're not natural writers, or they don't understand grammar, or their spelling is awful. It doesn't really matter.
mm.
I've had people write in different languages where I've deciphered what I think the story means, and then gone back and said, this is how we write that in English. I'm writing it like this. That's right. Yeah, I haven't got the wrong end of the stick from that. And they're like, oh, but is that how you write it in English? Yeah.
What I loved is the excerpts that you sent me was I could tell someone was Scottish and I could tell they were from the north of England, or I could actually sense where they were from by the way
Yeah.
it was written. And I'm guessing that,
Yeah.
now that I know you've probably edited these, but the essence was very much, I mean, it just felt like, especially being a Scot, I knew that these authors were Scottish. I knew the way they were writing. I knew the words they
Yeah.
were using.
Yes.
But yeah, it's just such a beautiful project. It's on so many levels. It's a beautiful project. It's a beautiful project. It's a gorgeous gift to give to someone. I
Mm.
mean, what a lovely, lovely gift to share with someone who, birthday present. I'm just thinking, somebody struggling with menopause. This would be a beautiful gift because there's all the clinical menopausal books and this, but
Yeah.
there's a poetry in this. In my experience of it, there's a poetry and there is real life. So it's amazing on that level. It's amazing that people get to leave a little legacy behind, which I think, and have a little go at writing. Because I think writing from your heart on that level, there is something so powerful and so profound about that. And then to be,
People get the bug as
yeah,
well.
yeah,
And so many of these authors are writing with me for the 4th and 5th time.
amazing. Yeah,
And some of them are brand new. Some of them have gone on to write their own books and publish their own poetry books.
yeah.
Um, it just goes on and on. I don't know if there's something I can write, I can read in here. I've actually prepared some things, but let's see. This is the A Woman's Voice is a Revolution, which
Oh,
actually I had tattooed on my neck in script.
wow.
So it just looks like a load of squiggles and dots, but I've had it checked very clearly. It does actually say that.
Yeah.
Um,
Do you want to read it first?
I used to dance always. I loved soul and Motown. I just adored dancing. Somewhere along the way, I forgot. I loved yoga too, but something else was calling, and I came across tribal belly dance and I remembered. Something woke up inside. My tribal roots were awakened and I began to dance again. There's something about giving ourselves the gift of freedom to just let our bodies move.
Mm, I love that.
That's
I
Andrea Jackson.
I love that. I love it. I goosebumps because I work with so many women who have become, and I guess this will be your authors too. It's like life just life can just take over. You talking about the washing and the what's for tea and the
Yeah.
do list, and life can just take over. And just underneath there are so many exciting things that we could possibilities that are maybe at our edge. It's something that we maybe dreamed we would do, but we're too scared to join the group or to be part of
Yeah.
something like this. So whether it's the dance class or whether it's writing something, these projects, these experiences, they will awaken our aliveness and they bring us back to life in a way that is absolutely possible, that maybe we've forgotten for a period of time. I'm going to just do one little reading from your
Okay.
Rising Woman book, which is what you've written this one. And on the note of writing, so Articulation by Lynette Allen. Write something every day. Write it on anything. The bathroom mirror, the back of a receipt, the journal you keep for special occasions. Write something every single day. What your heart feels, the sensations in your body, the sound of your breath. Let the words from your mind stream out onto anything. When we write, the words we find give us connection to feelings we didn't know were there or we couldn't quite put our finger on. Searching our emotional network for the one word that best depicts how we feel in our bones, in our cells, in our hearts, gives us so much courage to articulate ourselves. Write so that you feel everything. And life makes sense that way. That, and we're talking about writing. We're talking about
That's why
writing.
I write.
Yeah,
I write so I can feel
yeah,
my feelings.
yeah, yeah.
Like sometimes I put my hand on my heart and my left hand on my heart, my right hand is a pen. And
Oh,
I think, well, what's the feeling I'm feeling?
yes.
And I might just write that down, like,
Mm,
I don't know, introspective or disappointed or hurt or angry or sad or relieved or excited, like whatever the words are. And then, okay, what is the next feeling I can isolate?
mm,
And then what's the next feeling I can isolate?
mm,
And you start to see a picture
mm.
or you can actually go back to the root cause of it. Like what word? Did you ever play a word association game?
I think as a kid, we did that sort of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So if somebody says blue, then someone else says sky, and then somebody else says cloud, and somebody else says rain. And there's a word association. But I do that with feelings.
Mm,
What comes next? And then you kind of get underneath.
mhm.
I like that process very much for me.
Yeah, the map. And
Mm,
this process is enlightening on a level, and it can be quite frightening too for people because I think for so many women, we numb, we shut down, we recognize it through life feeling flat or, we might put it down to it's this age and stage of life. I can't expect any more from my life. This is it. I'm too old. I'm too busy. This is my lot. Nothing can change. And then when we start to create these maps and these systems, we start to see the truth. And
Mm.
that can be both liberating and it can be frightening. But if we don't do it, we stay with the flatness. We stay with the numb. We stay
Yeah.
with the dull, the same old routine, the same old life, no change, comfort zone, no edge. So yeah, the words and the feelings are really important.
For me, that's how it starts.
Mm.
For me, that's how I access that, is by finding the words. And then if I've been in a negative place, if what I've written down is a whole page of negative words, which can happen, it's like,
Yeah.
okay, are we done? No. There's
Yeah.
another 10 words to come out. Okay. Get them out. Are we done? Yes. Okay, well, how do you want to feel instead? And I
Mm.
do the same again on the other page. I
And
want to feel awake. I want to feel solid. I want to feel grounded. I want to feel hopeful. Like, what do you want to feel
mm,
instead of that?
mm,
And
mm,
actually, I don't think our brains can help but take us there if we
mm,
identify.
mm. How do I get out of this? What's written down here? How do I get out? How do I, or guide me out of this if you do meditation?
Yeah, but I think like the feeling comes when you identify the word. Like, what feeling do I want to feel?
Mm,
You identify the word, the feeling can then come because you've at least got a word written down, even if you can't
mm,
associate entirely with it, there's some movement of feeling.
mm,
And then when you feel a bit different, you're going to see different things. You'll go out into the street and decide to buy a magazine. And then flicking through that, there will be something in there. And you go, oh, that's why I bought that magazine. I never ever buy and it's way too expensive. Okay, it was for that. Right. And then there's a website. And then you go on there and you have a look at. Do you see what I mean? You start following. But if you hadn't done that exercise in the first place, you might have just
yeah,
gone to the shop, bought the chicken, bought the pasta, bought the stuff, head down, back in the car. It opens you, literally
yeah,
opens your eyes.
yeah. And I think like your talking circles, I think as women in particular, we inhabit so much emotion, me probably more than most, but to write it down or to talk
Mhm.
it out moves it. It starts
Yes.
to move it. And
Yeah.
ultimately, it moves it energetically, emotionally. We start to move it. And like you're saying, which I love, is once you identify it and you even entertain the possibility of change or something different, then there's something subconsciously that shifts. Your antennae go up and you start looking without even knowing it. Either that or you send a signal out to the universe, God, and things start coming. It moves you on the journey. So writing, speaking, being in circle, listening to your deepest truth. So many beautiful insights from today's conversation, Lynette. It's just been lovely. It's been lovely to sit, listen, chat with you. Um, there will be women out there who are thinking, this sounds really interesting. I'd love to get involved. So if they do, how do they find you?
Gatherthewomenpublishing.com. That's it.
It's,
So all of our previous books are there,
uh-huh,
which are all available on Amazon. And then the call out for the next book is there. So the actual link is gatherthewomen.com/bear, BARE.
lovely.
And you'll see a photo shoot of some of
Yes.
the most beautiful women. This is all down to Saz, actually. So Saz worked with me on the last book, and she's a dance teacher locally. And I thought, I have to have an underwear shoot. Who do I ask to get their kit off? Like, who can I ask to take their clothes off? And I was like, where do I even start? And I thought, I know what, I have to phone Saz. So I phoned her up and I said, look, I've got a question. And if this arrives, if this lands with you, then there's the next book is going to come from this. And she said, leave it with me. And within, I don't know, a couple of hours, she had 5 women, herself included, going, we're all going to get our kit off for you.
They're amazing.
So I went shopping, I bought their underwear, I had the photographer, the date, everything was set. And these shots for the cover shoot, they were just done in an hour with Dan, our photographer, in it. And this is like the beautiful thing about my job now. I get to bring women together to take their clothes off in front of each other and go, this is my actual body. This is my scar. This is my cellulite. This is my bottom. These are my boobs.
This is
No,
my,
this is my how truth. Cool is my job?
This is my truth. This is my humanity. This is my everything.
I love it.
Is real. I love it. I love it. I love the work you're doing. God, I celebrate you. I support you. I am so excited to do the foreword for the new book, and I look forward to many more conversations in the future, Lynette.
And in Scotland, I'm coming up to see you.
And you're coming up to see me. Yes, you're coming to stay in the castle.
I know. I'm very excited for the whole thing.
Yeah, it's going to be wonderful. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
Pleasure.